Welcome to this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking,
from indie films to studio films and
high-end TV and everything in between.
how to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
Royally F them up.
in our very, very humble opinion. I am Giles Alderson.
I'm Dom Lenoir.
We are both writers, directors, and producers. And as you know from Tuesday's show, if you do know, if you listen to the David Mackenzie episode, you'll be delighted that we are welcoming onto this Friday special the brilliant actor Riz Ahmed.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. Riz is one of those wonderful actors who's just been around since Four Lions, really, and before that as well. He's one of those multi-talented artists working today. He's a Grammy-nominated rapper. He's an Oscar and Emmy-winning actor, and he's also a powerful activist as well.
An activist.
An activist, absolutely. He's a producer as well. He runs Left-Handed Films, and he's quite a brilliant bloke.
He is. Yeah, we had loads of fun with Riz. I mean, we always have fun with our guests. I mean, let's be honest. We're friendly. We ask good questions.
Well,
people generally have a good time, but then there's guests that come on. They're like, oh, I don't want to leave. You know, like when you're you're around a really fun friend's house when you're a kid, and then your parents are like, it's time to go home, lad. That's obviously for you because you're northern, but yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to keep playing.
Yeah.
And that was what happened with Riz.
Exactly. I mean, he didn't say it as a kid, but clarify that.
He did.
But he was having a good time, and we were having a good time, and
yeah, it was very nice.
It was very nice.
Some of his most celebrated performances, Sound of Metal, The Night Of, and it's something we talk about in the episode, are the power of stillness. And he's got this masterful sort of use of this internal energy where he doesn't need to speak, and that's kind of what he's done with Ash in Relay, which is the film we're here to talk about. He relays
the information in a different
heavily
way
on non-verbal communication. Wait, you missed my pun. I did it for you.
No, I know. I was about to make it, so I already had the second half ready for it.
Oh, you were you? I was about to make it.
Of course I was.
Of course you were. He studied philosophy, politics and economics at Oxford.
Wow.
Didn't know that, did you?
No.
He's very good at storytelling. And like I say, he co-wrote and starred in the Oscar-winning short The Long Goodbye for director Anil Karia, who has been on the podcast, episode 171, I believe. Just plucking that on the memory. And we're nearly at 500, by the way. 500 episodes of this podcast. And he also co-wrote and starred in Mowgli as well, which shows his craft to personal narratives. Wow, he's incredible. He really is one of those brilliant actors that you just love. You love. What should our guests gain? What should our guests? What should our listeners? What should our listener learn?
They will
from Riz's chat.
I think they'll definitely learn about the collaboration with David Mackenzie. And I think more importantly than that, something that was really interesting was his journey as an actor and the difference between how he works now and how he used to work.
Yes.
And I mean, even going back to some of his sort of slightly earlier stuff, like we talked about The Night Of, which I think is one of the best HBO limited series ever made. And his process was different back then, but the result is still obviously fantastic. But I think it's really fascinating, and something I've learned from the last month of speaking to Hollywood actors, because we've had and we have upcoming some episodes that haven't been released yet. Some of the biggest actors in the world that are really compelling lead actors, and it's really interesting. It's the first time I've really sort of had the information all come together from different angles that sort of confirms the same thing, which I guess is that a lot of the actors that have been really working for a long time together have kind of honed their process to really not find everything out in advance Like it's not, it's not having all the answers, and I think it's an interesting thing as a director to sort of bear in mind as well, because we want to often have everything sort of planned down to a T, but as everyone knows, the magic happens with a bit of flexibility. And I think with the best actors in the world, like, they really let loose. They obviously do the prep, but like they leave a lot where they can improvise or change things or adapt as they go. I'm finding more and more that seems to be like the evolution of obviously everyone has a different process, and some people research, and depends on the role, obviously, like that can be a big part. But it's interesting, and it's made me think about ways to do things rather than sort of going too much into how someone should do something.
That's so interesting. Yeah, you say that, because we can get sort of bogged down, and we have to do it this way, or this is how I want it said, or this is how I want it done.
Yeah.
And all the actors we've had on the podcast and directors, they've always felt their most freest when it's just, of course, we've done all the history, we've done all the backstory, we've done all the prep, we've talked about it for ages, but when it's alive, like week 3 with actors, you kind of don't need to give them much.
No.
Like, we've got the character, we've got where he's supposed to be coming from and going to, and that's sometimes all you need to say to actors. Let's come back to this, because I do want to get to the episode with Riz first, and then me and you can talk. Let's do topic of the week can be on working with actors, and let's dive into this even more afterwards. A couple more does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds pretty great.
Good. And we can relay that information later. Apart from Relay, Riz's latest film with director David Mackenzie, which you haven't listened to, Tuesday's episode, which has just gone, then go listen to that. David's a wonderful director. He did Hell or High Water. That's all you need to know. But some of Riz's credits when he first started out was the Michael Winterbottom film, The Road to Guatemala, and then he did Shifty, which was a big movie back in the sort of late 2000s, Aaron Creevy's breakout. Then Four Lions, which everyone loved, Inter Centurion, and then Ill Manners for Plan B. Some of his other big credits include Nightcrawler, which is just incredible, Jason Bourne, City of Tiny Lights with Adu Yoshizaki Kasuto, the producer who's also been on the podcast. Yep. And then he starred as Bodhi Rook in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, edited by good friend Cole Gowdy. And then we have other credits recently include White Boy Rick, The Sisters Brothers, Venom, Sound of Metal,
Clang.
Mogul Mowgli, The Long Goodbye, which is the short that again he created and wrote and starred in, The Phoenician Scheme, and Hamlet, which is Anil Kary's feature film directed by, but Hamlet is coming up. We're going to be excited by that. Yeah. We all want to make Hamlet, not just you, Riz. Then obviously Relay. Do you not?
No.
Right. Well, I do.
Don't get me wrong. If I was given a really good Hamlet script, then I would certainly not turn it down, especially if it had some magnificent actors. But I've never really gone too deep into the sort of Shakespeare side of things.
Well, back when I was, a fledgling actor, I did a lot of Shakespeare around UK, and yes, for me, it's something I want to do. And so anyway, this is myself and Dom chatting to Riz Ahmed, the amazing actor, starring in Relay at the moment, which is out today. Go watch it. It's brilliant. It really is. Anyway,
we'll come back to that. Relay do tell?
No.
Yep.
Okay. So, the other side of that, me and Dom, we'll do our topic of the week. Till then, here's Riz Ahmed. Boom. Oh, by the way, Maddie doesn't join us again at the end, just so you're aware. You might think she would. She does. But she doesn't top and tail the story. It's a real shame. Just letting you know that now.
That's maddening.
It is.
Guys, how you doing?
Very good.
Maddie Musson has entered the waiting room, guys, so let's celebrate that.
Yeah. Celebrate that. Hey, Maddie, big celebration to you.
Yeah.
She's gone. Anyway, how are you doing? All right? Everything good?
Okay, man. What's going on over there?
Yeah, good. I'm in Bulgaria, so I'm here, but Dom's in London, so that's all right.
Wow. Is that where you live in Bulgaria?
No, I'm just finishing up a film here and posts on the edit trail at the moment. But where are you?
Are you playing? I'm in London.
Yeah. Oh, nice. All right. Good. Well, it's good. Well, listen, let's jump straight in. Relay's amazing. You're amazing, isn't it? All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, nice one, guys. Good to speak to you. Yeah? Have a good one. See you next year.
Yeah, see you next year. All the best. Have a good Christmas. Yeah.
You're doing my fantasy version of what a press tour would be.
Right? Wouldn't that be ace if it was literally that? You're amazing. Bye. See you later. No.
Yeah.
Where?
It's
Go on,
tough,
Dom.
it's tough, isn't it? Because you get asked the same well, a lot of the same questions. I mean, we try and sort of go into the
Well,
process.
that's going
and
to be a
everything.
challenge for you guys. If you ask me anything I've been asked before, I'll refuse to answer it. How about
Okay.
that?
Okay, okay.
All right. We can
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
I don't think
What's
you
your
guys
favourite
fall into
colour?
that trap. You guys are very thoughtful.
Yeah, we're far too thoughtful for that. We look far too thoughtful anyway. That's the thing. That's the important bit. Yeah, no, where do we start? Where should we start? Hey, Maddie, she's back again. Hey, Maddie, thanks.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Well, let's start at the beginning. Like, what made you join this? This epic genre piece. I mean, it's such it's up there with my favorite role of yours, with probably The Night of, which I think is one of the greatest limited series ever made. So I just love to know what attracted you to this. What was it in the writing? What was it in David's kind of early conversations that made you think like this is something special I had to do next?
I love David Mackenzie, man. I think he does just make so many different kinds of films, but they're all very cool. I love Startup. I love Hell or High Water. And I think that he just makes a certain kind of like muscular, propulsive, character-based film that I'm a big fan of. And I think get made less and less. And in particular with this film, it was a kind of film that we don't really make anymore. He was trying to reference all these 70s thrillers like The Conversation, or even more recently stuff like Michael Clayton.
Yes.
And those are kind of thrillers that keep you on the edge of your seat, keep you guessing, and that we don't have enough of anymore. So he wanted to kind of bring that back and pay homage to them. And so that was exciting as well.
Yeah, that must have been, because it comes across that way. We had David on. He's on podcast. We just released it yesterday, and he was fantastic to chat to, and really interesting about the 70s and what he wanted to do with it. And he talks about why he cast you. We thought that was really interesting about what you bring to it. What do you think it was that he said? This is a question you're probably not being asked, of why he brought you on, why he wanted you.
Why did he have me? I was the only one
available,
vulnerable enough to be bullied into taking this
there
job.
you go. Yes. Yeah.
I'm very grateful that he kind of thought of me for this, because David's that caliber of director who can kind of like cast who he wants generally, and the script was kind of unusual and cool enough. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what he'd say, but I think something that became interesting about me playing the role was that this idea of my character kind of being disguised or being able to blend into New York City. My character, in a way, his superpower is that he can blend into this kind of working class, ethnically ambiguous population of New York that kind of makes the city go round. That is the fuel of the city, but they're often a lot of the people that are kind of not noticed. They're wearing workers' uniforms, or they're hustling to catch a bus or something. And it's those invisible people that I think we increasingly lean into the idea that maybe my character blends into those. So that was something that was interesting that came up once I took the role.
I mean, something that you're incredibly good at is doing so much without having like tons of dialogue. You can really hold presence, and you can kind of, I always feel like there's something going on in the background of your characters. So like, what is it you do discuss maybe with David on this occasion about the character? Because there's obviously, I feel like there's a lot that you don't talk about with anyone. Like, I feel like there's a lot that you sort of little secrets or things about the character that other people's don't, that the audience sort of get to interpret. So I'd love to know a little bit about that balance and how you sort of work out the character, what you are going to discuss.
It's really interesting, because I used to work from a place of really, really extensive, like detailed creation of backstory. And to the extent where a lot of it was based on like just hours and hours of interviews. You speak about The Night Of, for example, or even something like Sisters Brothers. It was so angled towards research and information, and kind of immerse myself in a certain kind of world and milieu and meeting people. And I wouldn't say that that's not a part of my process anymore, but I would say that's just one aspect of it. And more and more, I kind of think like, I'm kind of discovering things about the character in the process. I try and have less worked out about who this guy is. Look, there's certain things that are in the script, there's certain questions that the script is pointing towards that it would make sense to try and answer, or at least have an idea of. But I guess that big question of like, yeah, but who is this guy at his core? I don't know the answers to that for myself, and I think more often than not, characters, us as people, we're kind of like focused on the environment we're in and the people around us, and we're different. Our personality is different from one moment to the next, one environment to the next, one context to the next. So it's really interesting. Like the process of working out who this character was as much of a mystery to me on this journey as I think it will be to the audience watching this film. And I think there's something interesting that in a way that happens on every film I ever do, where the making of the film and the final film itself kind of mirror each other in a strange way. I don't know if you guys find that, but
yeah.
and I'll try and be a bit more specific. An audience watching this film watches me not say a word for half an hour, doesn't really know who I am, what makes me tick, until very, very, very late on in the film. We're not spoon feeding backstory, with carrying people forwards on this propulsive kind of thriller that David's crafted. But for us working on it, we were answering a lot of these questions as we were shooting. We were going into rehearsals every Saturday and Sunday. Well, we cut this scene, it's too much backstory. Let's cut this, we cut this. We keep cutting things, and we're like, where does it fit? Well, actually, now we've got a blank slate. Well, what is it? Well, let's pick. Okay, maybe it's this. Okay, where does this bit of information go? Where do we place it? So who this character is, how much of that we get to learn was actually evolving as we were making the film. So I'd be lying if I said like I had it mapped out, this was what I discussed, and then I went in and did it. I actually find that to be a less alive, a less stimulating process than one where I'm just going in with a load of questions and I don't really know.
I suppose that's kind of the kind of magic, isn't it? Of a character that you don't know what they're going through, because they are actually figuring it out themselves. They're not just someone that knows A, B, and C. Because that's like the most boring thing you can watch in acting, isn't it? It's like when someone's got everything figured out and you know how they're going to sort of go. So I love that that's kind of your evolution of acting and how it's kind of developed over the years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had an acting coach. At one point, Gregory Berger Sobek, who's fantastic, and I worked with him on a number of films, and he said, what you're trying to capture is, and it's similarly in a way to Rick Rubin's approach, is you're trying to capture a spontaneous, unrepeatable moment, and that usually comes from not from having it worked out, but really the very opposite of making a discovery in the moment. Of being a little bit out of your depth and in over your head. And that's a scary kind of starting point to be at, because you're like, well, I don't have anything. I don't know what the hell's going to happen here.
Sure.
But allowing ourselves to be vulnerable in that way, often, at least I find, can breed the most unpredictable and surprising kind of moments.
And that's what makes it so exciting to watch. And it was something David was saying as well about how and that surprised me, the fact that he was just sort of sometimes improvising on set. He'd find things with you and Lily and just go, hey, let's just try this. Let's try this.
He's a very spontaneous filmmaker, yeah.
Right. Which must be so exciting as well, also to not know where you're going, especially with what you just described there and how your acting journey has changed somewhat for you. How are then doing that with the scenes with the relay department, which is you a lot on the phone with you typing, hearing stuff back, but you're not necessarily speaking, or when you were, you're not necessarily acting opposite the people who are speaking. How is that for you to, it could have just been the script supervisor speaking or something else. How did you process that as an actor, and especially, coming from where you're coming from?
That changed as well.
And
in a very particular and weird way. So started off listening to recordings of Lily speaking certain lines and reacting to that and typing responses. Then realizing actually I wouldn't be hearing Lily's voice. Need to hear operator. So very quick, like on day 2, like, wait, what are we doing? Have like the first assistant or director reading things out and having me reacting to that. And then something really weird happened, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I've spoken about this briefly before. Real life happened. And what happened is that, I just had a newborn baby and we were moving from California to New York. And we were moving all our worldly belongings, our whole household, our baby pics, our cameras, everything, our furniture, our TV. And we got robbed. The moving truck got hit and everything got stolen. And it was so violating and I couldn't really focus. And it was all I was thinking about. And sometimes I think like, well, always now, I think the gift and the curse are the same. And so I just try and think, well, like, you can put in energy trying to resist reality or you can lean into it. When I leaned into it, I realized, hang on a minute, the character I am playing in Relay is someone who's trying to take care of vulnerable people and their precious belongings and get them safely from A to B.
Amazing.
That's exactly what's just happened to me. I'm just going to lean into it. So if I'm really honest with you, man, for the second half of shooting, what I was listening to was the first assistant director reading out a list of everything that had been stolen.
Wow.
And that's
personalizing.
Oh my gosh, Riz, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, I want to see it again now with
that's
that.
That's what it is. That's what it is, That's what it is. And I just think like, again, similarly, I think earlier on in my journey, and this is not me saying that this is a right way and wrong way of doing it. It's just for me right now at this moment, I also think is about doing lots of research about how to become someone else. And now I think it's about doing lots of surrender to like share where I'm at, the like trying to share your privacy publicly. And in doing so, we all kind of feel a little less alone at the end of it. That's the kind of idea, at least. So I really this was a test for me to just go, well, how far can you take that? And that's what a lot of this was for me. That's what a lot of this whole film was to me. It was very personal for that reason.
Was there any moments you got particularly stuck, or maybe on this movie or somewhere else, and any advice for like getting out of that? Like, as an actor, I mean, you've just given a great example of something you did use that worked, but it would be great to hear maybe something that didn't work or something you had to sort of figure out.
Well, I feel like most of what I do doesn't work. I feel like that's true if in the sense of like you're swinging blindly, you're clutching at straws, you're kind of fumbling around in the dark for something, and sometimes it will glance off the back of your head and go into the back of the net, right? And that's like kind of how it works. But you got to keep moving around and exploring for the ball to come off you like that. So I guess when I try and I'm really committed to a result, it's an obvious thing to say, but when I'm committed to like, this is the thing I want to create emotionally, this is how I think I should be, like when I'm going in with this preordained set of kind of decisions and that usually just goes really badly, and the reason I do it, of course, is because it feels like you've at least got a plan.
Yeah.
As opposed to going in and being like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to be open and responsive. And because that can also be like, well, nothing happened, mate. So this is one take 3. It's like, we're losing our life.
What are you doing? You're going to do anything today.
Yeah. And, but more often than not, I've found that like the more empty I go in, the more space there is for things to happen. And the more full of ideas and thoughts and cleverness and thinking I go in with, I'm usually just screwed with that. And I feel like a lot of my work is about trying to like turn that off. I can think myself into circles a little bit.
That's so interesting because we can do it as directors too. We can get ourselves locked in a box with so much information and think, I've got to get this shot, got to get that shot. And talking of writing really and new creativity, we had Anil Karia on the show talking about his movie Surge a while ago, and obviously done Hamlet together very recently, and The Long Goodbye, which was amazing, by the way. And Anil was making that when we talked to him on the podcast. How is that with your creativity and writing stuff and getting that down? Do you think about it from the acting point of view? Do you think about it from a story perspective, or a bit of both?
I feel like I'm quite young in my journey as a writer. And so what I do is kind of like usually make all the same mistakes that I've just outlined as an actor, and I'll be like, well, yeah, but we got to get to this point in the story and drop this piece of information and set up this relationship so that happens. And it's like, dude, he wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
That's
he
just
wouldn't
not
say that.
honest.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not honest.
that's just not real. What are you doing? You're like, you're reverse engineering the conversation you need to have in order to make your second act kind of end the way you want it to. And it's like, so I feel like I'm constantly humbled into, again, surrendering to the honesty of the situation. Someone said something, a wonderful screenwriter that's met recently. Do you know Ajon Singh? Who's just
No.
Prime Time that with Robert
Oh.
Pattinson that'll be out next year.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Which is interesting. He was saying that, more and more now, try and think less like, what am I trying to say? And more like, what do I hear?
Mm.
What am I hearing? Like, trying
what's
to kind
natural?
of come at it more receptively. That when I hear these characters, when I'm listening to what this story wants to be. So, in different ways, I feel like it's always the same lesson. I don't know if you guys ever feel that, with this, which is like, the lesson is giving up control and being a bit more of a conduit for something rather than being a control freak that's like something clever, right? I don't know if you guys ever find that.
I feel like that in life, in everything. Like that's like where we have stress. That's where we have like frustration. That's where we get stuck in life. Is when we can't adapt, we can't be flexible, and we're trying too hard to sort of get a grasp on everything. And I think there's so much universal about that. It's such a simple concept of surrender, but it really does apply to creativity and collaboration and all kinds of things. Especially for acting, for sure.
Yeah. And on that, what is it you look for when projects come your way? You must get a lot of the time now, agent calling saying, hey, this has been offered. What is it from that? Is it something new each time? Are you looking for something to stretch you, or is it just story, or could it be a mix of all those things?
Early on, I kind of like really formalized it into a kind of like mantra of sorts, where it was like, does it stretch me and does it stretch the culture? And usually those two things go hand in hand, right? If you're going into a space you haven't before, often we take an audience into a space they haven't been as well, and thereby stretching culture or exploring something that hasn't been explored maybe as much or in that way. And that was a thing that I would always try and kind of come back to. Now I kind of feel like it maybe probably still is underpinned by those same kind of, ideas, but it's more a feeling, man. It's just a feeling. I don't know if you guys ever get that when you're reading something, you're just like, it just starts off in the soles of your feet, and then it just kind of works your way up your body, and you're just kind of like in it. You're just alert. There's just a kind of fizzing kind of feeling like bubbling up through your body, and you're like, I'm in. And I think that's what I'm kind of looking for. And maybe if I unpacked it, part of it would be that. But I think the thing that's missing from that slightly do-goody kind of formula, that I still think has its uses for me when I'm, thinking things through, is like, am I enjoying it? Am I captivated? Does it elicit a sense of kind of passion in me? Because it's not easy making something. It's a mission. It's an absolute mission. So you've got to be excited. If you're not excited and you're showing up there and you're doing the 5 a.m.s and you're doing the 2 a.m.s and you're doing the
all the other AMs.
All the AMs, bro.
All the AMs.
You just kind of like you need to be it.
You do. You have to have some sort of passion for it.
It's been an absolutely lovely chat. I'm afraid we've got to wrap this up. But
man, really
it's been
good
amazing.
To talk to you.
Let's chat again on the next one. And
I would love that.
Yes, Hamlet, get you and Anil on. That'll be amazing to chat about that. Fun. Definitely. But Relay's amazing. Honestly, you're amazing in it. Congratulations and thanks for this chat.
So much, guys.
And
appreciate you.
I hope you enjoyed the questions. Happy Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers, Riz. Bye. Bye. Well, there we have it. That was the incredible Riz Ahmed. We could have talked for ages more, and hopefully we will. We'll have him back to talk about Hamlet, and that will be a real treat for everyone. But for now, let's chat about Relay. Relay's out in cinemas. Now, go watch it. Go watch it. It's brilliant. Brilliant. What a chat. What a guy. I think we'd have fun with Riz if he was on our film sets. And I like the fact that he said, and you touched on this in the intro, about how he's changed as an actor and his process has changed. And has that made him a more amenable actor, a more successful actor? Has it made him more approachable? Has it made him more aware of his surroundings and listening? But I don't know. There's not many actors who can do silent and listening as well as Riz Ahmed.
No. Presence. I mean,
presence.
I don't mean presence as in being present. I mean having a presence.
Or Christmas presents.
Yes.
Yeah,
well,
having a presence.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But his craft is amazing. Look, and he plays Ash so well in this, and how he communicates. Because most of the movie he doesn't speak. He's like, I think it's 30 minutes in, right, until he speaks.
Yeah.
And how he communicates with Lily James's character, and we really believe that connection in the film Relay. We really believe their connection, but yet they're not on screen. I think maybe once or twice.
And as we found out in the episode, he didn't even want to have her voice because it wasn't authentic.
It wouldn't be what he'd hear. Yeah. But we also, the loneliness of that and playing lonely. We can all get lonely as filmmakers. It can be very lonely, I feel, sometimes.
Yeah.
You're on your own writing sometimes. You're on your own the editing process. Okay, you've got people around you, but it can be quite lonely process.
On your own crying. Yeah, I mean, it's just...
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, he plays that so well, the vulnerability, of his personal life and what came through. Obviously, we had the AA meetings in the film as well, so you see that. But the moral compromise of what he does, what Riz Ahmed's character does for a job, and he's paid to bury secrets.
And he lives in. We sort of covered it in the David Mackenzie episode, but he lives in the shadows. Like his character is always out of sight. Sort of away from being able to really connect with anyone, because by nature his job is keeping a facade and keeping out of the public eye. So he's sort of almost forced to be this ghost living in reality.
Yeah. And he plays it so wonderfully. Anyway, go watch Relay. It's amazing.
Better Relay than never.
Wow. Clang. Ting, ting, ting on the bell. That was outrageous. Oh my gosh. Let's move on swiftly to topic of the week. When, as we said, let's talk about working with actors. Let's continue that conversation and what it's like and how you put actors at ease and how we as directors need to find that balance and make people feel safe and warm and able to go there. And I think if any film set feels dangerous or they don't feel comfortable, that could be costume, it could be makeup, it could be just that you haven't communicated properly, they don't know what scenes. It can put actors out. It can really make them feel vulnerable and lost. And I know sometimes we want that from our characters, but we don't want them to feel that when you're directing them. I love to have those connections with actors, and it definitely comes from my acting background. And I know you did some acting as well, Dom, but how was that for you when you first started working with actors, and have you changed your tactic over time?
Yes. I mean, I think, when I very first started, talking like, nearly 20 years ago, it was like, here's an actor, let's plonk them over here, you say the lines. No, do it like this. it was very much like.
Did you do reading?
Well, not that much, but it was more like placeholdering sort of approach to actors. And then I think as I started to work with more and more actors, I realized it was more like, just getting into the mindset. And I think it was then like it was a lot of like on set, talking about psychology or. Just sometimes just going back to the basics, like this is what the character, this is where the character is in the story, or, have you ever been in this situation, or have you ever been in that situation? And I think it sort of started in those lines. And then, I don't know, I think now I try and just have some early conversations, like go through all the scenes, try and figure out roughly what their first take is, if they have any questions, if anything doesn't make sense, if there's any gaps that they need. And yeah, maybe sort of just talk about some of the key moments that have formed a character, you know, like why are they this way? You know, not that they have to have an answer, but it's important to sort of figure out like maybe the before and after some events have changed them or something like that.
Yeah,
so
it's the thing I do always going into a scene. I'm like, even if they know this, I will say it. What has happened just before and what is going to happen after. And the after isn't as important as what's happened before because that's making you do the scene. That's making them feel something in that scene. Yeah. And our primary job as directors is to observe and listen. And if a performance, I look for falsities. I look for people who aren't telling the truth within a performance, because the camera will pick it up. Even if I miss it, the camera will see it, and then the audience see it. And if a performance for me isn't working, I often ask the actors a question about their character's goal, like you just mentioned there. Rather than giving any kind of command, it's like, what does your character want from this scene? Where are they going with this? And I think it's really important, as you said there, it's like never give a line reading, ever. No. Huge tip to directors. If you've got nothing to say, if all you can say is try it like this, do it this way, then don't say it. Don't say it. Don't ever say, do that line, angrily, or try it. You have to say something like, your object is to destroy the other character's trust, or imagine the room's filling with water and therefore you've got that danger of something else. So you never sort of
although the converse is, if you're working with actors that are like at a high enough level, you actually can give them a line reading and they'll do the backwards translation and figure out what you actually want. So,
yes, you can, but you shouldn't. Yes, exactly. I mean, how much are indie films working with actors on that scale of the Tom Hanks we talked about, the Riz Ahmeds? I mean, it's true, when you're working with the bigger actors, you do have to give them less direct.
Yeah, they often don't want, it's sometimes for them, it's like they're so dialed in on everything that it's just the most micro of notes, and it's not telling them to like suck eggs or...
exactly. But also don't be wishy-washy as well. It's like terms like more intense or give me something different. It's just wishy-washy, and as much as actors can do that, then in the edit you're like, well, that's no use. We've gone somewhere totally different. And what about over rehearsing or under rehearsing? I love rehearsals way before, but on set I'm like, I could be filming this. Time is so against us. So I'd rather even jump on a Zoom and rehearse. Even on a phone call, let's rehearse here, rather than on set, because that on set time. But I kind of like the Spielberg way. Let's shoot it. Let's see what happens, and rehearse it that way. But what do you feel about rehearsal on set?
Well, I feel like sometimes rehearsal is literally just finding out the beats of like the blocking, like more than anything. And sometimes it's ironing out kinks in stuff that doesn't make sense that you didn't realize until you got to the set. Like, okay, this room is not set up for this person to do this convincingly in this time frame, or those kinds of things. So I feel like a lot of the time, sometimes the rehearsal is just making sure that the actors find where they need to go and get the sort of the basic, like plausible logic sort of stuff out the way. Rather than like working too much on the emotional beats, because as you said, if you sort of plan that stuff too much, then you can easily lose the magic. So I suppose like, I mean, I like to just go through the scenes, the script reading, talk about the character, just sort of talk about initial thoughts really in advance, and not do like tons of actual rehearsing on set.
I think so too. I think it's character development, story. Just work with them on that, and like you say, it's you can overdo it sometimes. You really can. I think sometimes it's like figuring out like a certain behavior. It's like if someone has some very strong characteristics as a character. Sometimes it's just figuring out, okay, well, why are they this way? And it's not necessarily for you to tell the actor, but I think that can be quite an interesting sort of thing to have as like an anchor, or something sort of truthful behind what could be quite a bold sort of choice that affects all their decisions and the way that they sort of portray the character. Yeah, I love working with actors. I think it's the golden moments. It's like the exciting bits where it comes alive, and I love it when magic happens.
Just like Wizardora.
Just like Wizardora. I adore her. And that's for anyone who's never seen Wizardora. It's a wonderfully
go and listen to the theme tune now. I always almost. I was
just to distract.
I don't know if I should say it because he might listen to the podcast, but Wizardora.
Wow, that's great. Okay. Moving that on quite forward into term of the week, and there's a bit easier ones, but let's keep it on the acting front here. Let's run through a couple of these that you will hear on set, and you need to talk to actors about. Let's go with holding deal. What is a holding deal?
Holding deal. I mean, that feels like actor contracts to me.
Well, it's to do with actors. Yeah.
It feels like a sort of a holding contract, as in like you've got the actor attached, but XYZ needs to be in place for them to fully sign on and be greenlit.
Close. It actually guarantees an actor or writer a certain amount of money for a set period of time. So you might not pay them the full fee, but you're giving them a holding deal to hold and not do any other jobs in case that project happens. So you say if they're getting paid $1 million, you go, well, here's $100,000 for a holding deal or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's hope you're getting paid that much, everyone. And what about bump? B-U-M-P. Bump. What does bump mean for an actor? They're getting a bump.
Oh, well, it means a raise, doesn't it?
Yeah, an increase in the actor's salary for a project. Yeah, getting a little bump. I mean, it
doesn't mean a clip around the head.
No, or a key grips clip. It's a totally different thing. What about a meet cute? MEET.
Oh, well, meet cute. That's an easy one. That's when you have super easy one. That's where in like a rom-com scenario, you have like a specific situation where the romantic couple meet for the first time in a cute situation.
Yep. So meet cute. That's exactly it. Though in my film, The Dare, dropping that in, drink.
It was an actual meet, as in like, flesh.
It was, we had,
flesh
which was
cute.
Actually just, which was Haribo's, I think, all stuck together. And the actors had to go into the middle, try and get it first before anyone else trapped in this basement. And my two lead actors had to run to the middle and grab it and have a moment between them. And I called it a meet cute. Everyone liked it.
Yes.
It's very nice. Yeah.
Well done.
Very good. All right, one more then before we drop off this world on a Friday evening. A riser. What is a riser? R-I-S-E-R.
Isn't that just like a plate that you put on a tripod or a camera to boost it a little bit higher?
That is correct, except you can also do it to put an actor on, so it can be quite big. In Sessions, the film that I've just locked picture on. Congratulations, me. We used a riser for that to put our actor on. Yeah, riser.
Platform not for you, because you're already tall.
Or actor. I am indeed. Listen, thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this week's Filmmakers Podcast. Actually, two this week, David Mackenzie and Riz Ahmed, here to talk about Relay, which is out in cinemas now. Go see it. So next week, I don't know who we've got at the moment. We've got someone amazing next Tuesday.
We've got one of like 5 ludicrous guests next week.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. And upcoming weeks as well. Yeah. Anyway, have a wonderful Halloween.
Ooh.
I know, it's such a couple of days away, which is kind of weird.
I'm going trick-or-treating.
Might do. Yeah. Got my mask from the latest films. Could just take that out with me. Big prosthetics. Yeah?
Yeah.
Say that.
Might be an improvement.
It probably will be, mate. Probably will be. If you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to
relay the elevator signal back down.
Very nice. We will see you all on Tuesday. Go out there, make your films. Write your scripts. Collaborate with people. Make stuff happen. Until then, I've been Giles Alderson.
I am still Dom Lenoir.
Thank the heavens for that. And thanks, Maddie, for your contribution. We will see you all next week. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Happy Halloween.